So, Hunter's gotten a rework. I was going to main Hunter going into the War Within until I just got tired of not having very good defenses, and then I decided to main Evoker instead. And now they reworked Hunter to actually have good defenses. So I'm probably gonna swap back to Hunter now. Um, Hunter got a rework, and it is pretty extensive. So a lot of things have changed, and I did actually look through at least the Survival Hunter tree yesterday. My friend told me about it, and I was like, no, they did not. And I looked at it, and oh, sure, they did actually rework Hunter. And it was just one mind-blowing thing after the other. I just couldn't comprehend all the changes that had been made to make it playable for someone like me. I'm primarily a PvP player, so, especially when it comes to solo PvP, so it's always been this weird thing where if you wanted to play, at least as a survival hunter, which is what I mainly play, you had to like juggle your defensives because they were super long, like 2 to 3 minutes. And you pretty much had no self-healing. You had no, just kind of like, on the go, you can press defensives, that aren't 3 minutes long. And you had to know all sorts of weird tricks to do, such as combining pet talents with combining trinkets with acceleration, because those combined together will do something better. And I don't know, there's just so many issues with Hunter. Like, you had to hit a high skill ceiling to do well with Hunter, at least in PvP, because there's this meme that, oh, you want to play something easy, you gotta play Hunter, but that's not the case in PvP. It's actually pretty difficult to stay alive as a Hunter in PvP if you don't know what you're doing. It's not beginner friendly in any way, but they changed things now. So let's go ahead and take a look at things together. I have not seen Marksmanship or Beastmaster. I'm kind of excited about seeing Beastmaster because Beastmaster is the boring Hunter spec, and they apparently did change things inside that one too. So I do have, you can see I have my Survival Hunter here. I did pick a bunch of things. Let's just go ahead and unselect everything because that makes it easier for people watching this to actually see what's going on. I did went ahead and actually got the old Hunter talents, so you can actually see them here on screen, like the current Hunter talents, because we're not going to get these changes until most likely when the next expansion, like the pre-patch, actually releases. But I do have the old talents on screen here, so you can actually see them with me together. As you can see, they are super different. So we're just going to start by taking a look at the regular Hunter tree, and then we'll take all the specs afterwards. We're not going to take a look at the hero talents. I'm not going to try and go down a path based on hero talents. I'm just going to sort of, try and just pick what sounds really good. I am looking at this from a point of view of a person who likes to solo PvP, so open world PvP, battlegrounds, that kind of thing, right? But we do have natural mending up here as the very first thing you can pick. Every 10 focus you spend reduces the remaining cooldown of acceleration by 1 second. Whereas over here in the old one, you could pick 2 of them. So if I were to just kind of pick it, I think it would actually reduce it by every 12 focus. So it's even better now. So every 10 focus you spend, it's going to reduce it. Which means that we're getting natural mending up faster, or acceleration up faster. More healing is the first thing that we notice. Hunter has always kind of suffered when it comes to healing, because it's just one of those things where I just didn't expect acceleration to be up, because it sucked that you had to wait for so long and you had to spend so much focus to get it off cooldown again. But now it's 10. So it's going to be up pretty frequently while you're fighting. We do also have below here, if we go down, Rejuvenating Wind, which is the same thing we have inside the old Hunter tree, but it's all the way down here. It's not even connected to Natural Mending. Like, it's all the way down here, and you have to pick other talents here in order to, get down to it. I see we have Lone Survivor here as well, which I actually didn't know. But going into the new talent tree, we have Rejuvenating Wind, which is good, especially if you're solo PvPing. We have Tar Trap, that's necessary. We have Wilderness Medicine, which is healing your pet. We can also take post haste as the first thing up here now. That used to be a second step down. So if you want to go down and get some movement speed there and actually get free of any sort of roots that you might have gotten yourself into, we can pick that as the first thing. There's also Hunter's Avoidance. I'm not really a fan of that one for solo PvP, but it's there. We do on the other side have Kill Shot Increased Damage and also Concussive Shot, which is really good. And Concussive Shot is actually the first thing that you pick over here in the old tree, the current one that we have. So you have to dig a little bit down to get it. There is one thing that I noticed here, but we'll get to it, which is that we have Scout's Instincts, which sounds really interesting, especially in PvP. So it's kind of like one of those talents that you mainly use in PvP, but it's kind of hidden behind Misdirection, which is a PvE sort of thing. So we have to pick Misdirection to get to a talent that might be a little bit better when it comes to PvP. But we do have other talents here. You can see Survival of the Fittest is over here, which is the one that we know because we have that one too already. You can see that I actually have an old tree here. It's 3-minute cooldown, by the way, in the old talent tree, or the current one that we have right now in Dragonflight. In the new one, it is, well, it says 1.5, but it's actually 2. It's because I haven't applied changes, but it is actually 2 minutes. And then you can pick another one over here, down here below, called Lone Survivor, which we do also have over here, down there below, which reduces the cooldown of Survival of the Fittest by 30 seconds, and also extends duration by 2 seconds, which is super good. It also reduced the cooldown of Counter Shot and Muscle by 2 seconds, which is even better. So you have more, more interruptions you can do. So that is amazing as a survival hunter. Let's just go and pick some talents so we can go down. So Muscle is here. We do also have Entrapment, of course. We do have that over inside the old talent tree as well, which is basically rooting people instead of slowing them if they run into your tar trap. So we're going to pick that one. But Lone Survivor, if you're doing survival hunter, solo, PvP, or just battleground, any sort of PvP really, Lone Survivor is really good to have because now we can just pick it. We don't have to pick that one, or in this case here, what is it called? Nature's Endurance, which is what I usually took, which reduces your damage taken by an additional 20%. So it used to be, you know, for me at least, when I went into combat, it would be, what would it be? I thought it was like 20%, and then it's an additional 20, which is 40% in total, if I remember correct. And now the new one is 30% for 8 seconds, right? So now you can choose this one, which reduces the cooldown without having to compromise. And you can also get an additional charge of Survival of the Fittest by choosing this talent called Padded Armor. Right? So now we have 2 charges of Survival of the Fittest, which is just incredible. And it's not 20%, it's 30% now. 2 charges of it. We're definitely not going to be missing any sort of defensives now, because it's on a 1.5 minute cooldown, and it's just incredible. Like, just this in itself is so good. We do also have access to Intimidation down here. This used to be something we had to pick between Intimidation and your Explosive Trap, which is over here. So now you can pick Intimidation without compromising. So you can just pick Intimidation and have Explosive Trap as well. Mind blown, right? If you played Survival Hunter or just any Hunter spec, you'll know how good this is, right? We have a stun always now. Not just that, but if you go on the other side of the talent tree over here, and let's say that we want to pick Disrupted Rounds, which, you know, in order to gain access to Binding Shot, which will now also, at least as it is right now, stun for 4 seconds. There is another talent down here which does, I think this one down here, it says targets rooted by Binding Shot. But this one says it's a stun. So, you know, there has kind of been this back and forth between whether Binding Shot was a root in the past and then became a stun. Then I think a new build in the beta made it into a root again, and now it's a stun again. we're going to have to see if this is going to become a stun or if this is going to become a root. I think we have lots of roots though, because we also have Tracker's Net down inside the PvP talents. So with Tar Trap and you know, Tracker's Net, like there's not a lack of option for rooting people as a hunter. So I think it should be a stun. Like that would just be kind of nice. But we can have Binding Shot. We don't have to compromise. Again, we don't have to compromise. We can just get it. We do also have access to another talent down here where you can choose between Scatter Shot, which used to be either Scatter Shot or Binding Shot. Like you had to pick one of those two. You can see it in the old talent tree if you go down here. Binding Shot or Scatter Shot, you had to pick one. But now we can just have it. And if you're a PvPer, of course, Scatter Shot is pretty mandatory. But you can also gain access to Bursting Shot, which is something that marksmanship hunters could only have in the past. And I was kind of bummed out about that because when you world PvP, it's nice to have a couple of knockbacks. Bursting Shot is just kind of fun in combination with High Explosive Trap. So, but again, we don't have to compromise between the stun and Explosive Trap now. So you can just pick this one and you'll still have a knockback. And then you'll also have Scatter Shot, which is super amazing, especially for PvP. So it's like one good thing after the other here. We just have so much utility. Like you had to pick between a stun or a let's actually pick Explosive Shot, which by the way was pretty mandatory as well in the old tree, which is all the way down at the bottom here if you wanted Explosive Shot, and now it's already over here, which is super good because everyone picked it because it was mandatory. It was so good. So instead of having it all the way down at the bottom, you can now just pick it up here, and then you can gain access to a High Explosive Trap, which means we now have a stun, a knockback, a root, we have Scatter Shot, which is a incapacitate, we also have Ice Trap, I have Tracker's Net down here inside my PvP talents. So like it's just like one thing after the other. Like we're getting all the utility at the same time. All the utility that we had to pick between in the old talent tree. You know, if you were to go down here, you had to pick between Scatter Shot or Binding Shot. You had to pick between a stun or High Explosive Trap. Like it was just one bad thing after the other. But now we just get everything. You can just pick it. Like there's no picking between which traps do you want. Blizzard just said, here you go, have all of them. So survivability, at least as a hunter, is not just about healing yourself and better defensives, because we have better survival of the fittest, we have better healing with natural mending, we also get all the traps. So now we can just, you know, just survive. Again, survival hunter. We can just survive because we get everything just thrown in our face and we can just use it. It's incredible. So Wildfire Bomb increased by 10%. That's also good for Survival Hunter. But then as we climb down, and you'll see that I'm skipping past some of these. We should probably also have Tranquilizing Shot because that's really good. There's also a couple of additional effects down here where Tranquilizing Shot can remove a additional magic effect if you wanted to. Or go to PvE route where it removes a Enrage effect, which is what you can do again if you want to PvE, because usually that's where you see that kind of thing. So if we go further down, you can see that we do also have this weird talent here, which I haven't quite figured out yet. Trigger Finger. You and your pet have a 2.5% increased attack speed. This effect is increased by 100% if you do not have an active pet. So this is more like a marksmanship hunter thing, I think, because you have so many things tied into having a pet when it comes to playing as a survival hunter. Like we need to have kill commands. You can see it's like the first thing over here inside. Well, maybe you can't see it because I blocked it. But the first thing inside the survival tree is kill commands. So, you know, removing the pet means that you can't kill commands. So this is probably not a survival hunter thing. But you'll notice that over on the side here, we also have Intimidation can now be cast without a pet and stuns 2 additional enemies for 50% effectiveness. This is an AoE stun and doesn't require your pet. So if your pet is feared or CC'd or just not near your target, you can still stun people because you have this talent, which is pretty good. We also have Scrappy. Casting Wildfire Bomb reduces the cooldown of Intimidation and Binding Shot by 0.5 seconds. which is amazing, which means even more crowd control. So it's just like one good thing after the other, and it's just incredible. We do also have Binding Shot stun duration is increased by 1% over here on the right. You can pick that one. We can go down to Camouflage, which again, if you played Hunter, is pretty good. There's also this other passive effect called Ghillie Suit, which means that you take 20% reduced damage while Camouflage is active, and it persists for 3 seconds after you leave Camouflage. So I'm guessing this is more of a, when you open up on your opponent, you get out of stealth, you start attacking. If they're really fast at getting to you, you have 20% reduced damage when you exit Camouflage for 3 seconds. Also, if you get hit by some random AoE inside, Camouflage, it reduces by 20%. So, like, this is maybe not one that I personally would pick for solo PvP because there's so many other amazing talents out there. But it is there for people who are curious about it. We do also have Quick Load. When you fall below 40% health, Bursting Shot and Scatter Shot have their cooldown immediately reset. This can only occur every 25 seconds. Right? Another mind-blown little talent there. So basically, whenever you're playing, let's say I Scatter Shot someone, and I fall below 40% health. Scatter Shot is still on cooldown, which by the way is only 30 seconds. But let's say 10 seconds passed, there's still 20 seconds left. I get below 20% health, 40% health. All of a sudden, I can use Scatter Shot again. It's just incredible. So you can crowd control them again and get away. Like, it's just so good. We can go further down and reduce the cooldown of our traps, which we do also have in the old tree, but it is somewhere up here, I do believe, if I remember correctly. There we go. So you can reduce the cooldown. This one is 2.5 seconds, and then if you pick another one, I think it's 5 seconds. So this one is just 5 seconds, and you just need 1 talent point. So you don't need 2, you just need 1, which is good. But you also have this one down here. Unnatural Causes. Your damage over time effects deal 10% increased damage. This effect is increased by 50% on targets below 20% health. So basically, this is a dot execute, so to speak. So if your opponent is at low percent health, then you hit even harder. This one is also one that can be considered. We do also, if you go on the other side again, we do have a Kindling Flare, which means that if you use Flare on enemies, then they will remain revealed for 3 seconds after exiting the flare. So if you're playing against a rogue and they exit the flare, maybe they haven't been in combat for a while, it means that even though they get out of that area with the flare, they still need to wait 3 seconds until they can stealth again, which is pretty good. So playing against stealthies, this one is a pretty good talent to pick. Probably not one I'm going to have up that often, unless I specifically go up against rogues or feral druids. But it's good to have. We do also have Trailblazer, which means the movement speed is increased if you do not have anything attack for 3 seconds. So it's increased by 30%. This one is kind of one that I would go down this path instead. And then we have Roar of Sacrifice all the way down at the bottom here. So in the past, it used to be in here, somewhere in between, in the middle, right after Scatter Shot. And now it is all the way down at the bottom, which is a seriously good talent for defensives. So I think people should probably pick that one if they want to, do any sort of solo PvP. We do also have, if you go further down, Feign Death and Aspect of the Turtle removes poison and disease effects from you. So this one is kind of like, I guess this one is situational because you might consider this one in PvE content. You could also do it for PvP. But we do have Mending Bandage as a PvP talent, which basically clears all bleeds, poisons, and diseases from the target, and heals 30% over 6 seconds. So if you have any sort of diseases or poisons, then you don't have to use this talent in order to remove them. You can just go over here and pick one of these talents, like Mending Bandage. But it is a nice PvE talent. If you get into a dungeon that has a lot of poison effects, then you can, when you press a defensive, get rid of it, which is nice. We do also have, go down the center here, we do have Death Chakram all the way at the bottom. That used to also be at the bottom down here. inside the old talent tree. So that hasn't moved anywhere. It's still there, but you don't have to choose between something. Now it's just there. So you can't just go down and say, well, okay, if we want to pick this one, binding shackles, or actually you can travel this way down and take camouflage and say you want to reduce the cooldown of aspect of the eagle, aspect of the cheetah, survival of the fittest, and aspect of the turtle by 30 seconds. By the way, survival of the fittest, that's this one up here. So if you pick this one, which again is pretty incredible, if you pick this one, go down Death Tractrum, it means that it is, I believe, an additional 30-second cooldown off survival of the fittest. Is that true? I might have overseen that yesterday. We'll check it out in just a second. So I can go over here, we can say unnatural causes, that might be good too. I still have 2 talents, so we can just kind of like pick and choose situationally what we might want to do. We can increase our crits. There's 2 talents here for that. Or we can go the utility route, maybe increase movement speed. That might be good. We can go ahead and pick... I'll just pick something here. I'll say I'm just going to pick something, and I'm still going to just wander around with my cursor. Let's go ahead and pick... I guess we'll just pick this one over here. Increase attack speed. So if I pick this, we can then move over to the Survival Hunter talent tree, which I do have. Voila! I have the old version there. So if we take a look at the old one, you're also going to notice that things have changed quite drastically. We used to have Raptor Strike as the first thing. That is now over here as our second talent. So now Kill Command is actually our primary attack that we choose as a Survival Hunter. Then we can choose Raptor Strike, and then we can choose Wildfire Bomb. So basically these two have kind of been swapped around because Kill Command used to be down in the middle here. And then you just kind of pick and choose. Like going down the left path is basically buffing your bombs, and going down the right path is buffing your Raptor Strike. So you can just kind of like decide which route to go. If you just go ahead and go down the left side here, you can see Wildfire Bomb now has 2 charges. So a lot of these are things we've seen before, right? Kill Command is reset if you have, and you have a 30% chance to fire an arcane shot at your target at 100% of the normal value. You can pick that one. We'll get to a really interesting talent just below it after we pick a couple of these. So we'll just say we want Mongoose Bite. Again, additional resets for Kill Command. And then you can see below Quick Shot, we have something called Sulfur Lined Pockets. Every 3 quick shots are replaced with an explosive shot at 100% effectiveness. That basically means the explosive shot, which is one of your hardest hitting abilities, is going to be used every 3rd time that you get quick shot. I have done the rotation on target dummies with these talents picked out. And let me tell you, it's a constant explosive shot that you fire off again and again and again. And it's going to be so insanely strong. And I'm a little bit worried that Blizzard is going to see these changes as being too good. So now all of a sudden, oh, heavy nerfs, so all the Hunter players are going to get nerfed again. But again, we can go down, we can pick more damage for Wildfire Bombs. We can go down, pick Flanking Strike, which is really good. It deals a lot of damage, and it is going to bring you closer. Wildfire Infusion is really good too. So aspect of the eagle, that's necessary. Again, that's an old talent, so it basically makes your Raptor Strike or Mongoose Bite ranged for a certain period of time. We can also go ahead and say that we want Wildfire Bomb to deal increased damage and has a 25% chance to reset the cooldown of Explosive Shot, which again means that Explosive Shot is going to be fired off even more frequently. So this one is incredible. So basically you have a bunch of attacks that reset other attacks, and it's not just resetting basic attacks. Like, Kill Command is a basic attack and that gets reset constantly, but you also have Explosive Shot, which get reset constantly as you're fighting, and it's just incredible. This one increases your Explosive Shot with 20%, and Kill Shot and Serpent Sting and Arcane Shot and steady shot. So why not? We can also go down and say, let's go and take a look at some of these. We have the AoE attack in the center here, which can be used in order to just maybe PvE content. I don't usually use this in PvP. So these towns right below it is going to buff butchery, which again, I'm not going to pick. But these are just like kind of basic AoE attacks for PvE people out there. But you also have flanking strike exposes a weakness in your enemy's defenses, increasing the damage of kill command by 10% and causing your kill command to hit 2 additional nearby enemies for 10 seconds. This is kind of like an AoE kill command, which I guess, it could be good. Let's go ahead and ignore that one for now. Damage of flanking strike increased by 5%, and all damage dealt by wildfire bomb is increased by 5%. So again, buffing your bombs if that's what you want to do. We can go and pick that one. But let's go ahead and take the right side over here. So we can also say that each stack of Mongoose Fury increases the chance for kill command to reset by 2%. Mongoose Fury, for people who don't know, is basically when you use Mongoose Bite, it stacks, and then you deal more and more increased damage until the buff wears off. So that's the whole thing about Mongoose Bite. So this one basically makes it so that kill command has a high chance of resetting, which can be good. Let's go and pick it. Kill command has 2 charges and deals 15% increased damage. That's pretty good. I just want to point out that if you want to go for pack leader, I don't know if you can see it, but if you want to go for pack leader inside the hero talents, then kill command is going to be a lot in focus. So, having that kill command resetting and extra damage is just pretty good. Harpoon, super good. I use it constantly. It's just so much fun to use. It's kind of like Rogue, poofing over to people. Like, Harpoon is just super fun to use. Viper's Venom, Raptor Strike, Mongoose Bite, apply Serpent Sting to your target. Now, one thing I've noticed is that inside the base Hunter tree, we no longer have Serpent Sting, which is what we used to have down here at the bottom. You can't see it now, but at the very bottom to the right, we would have Serpent Sting, which would apply a dot on your enemies that dealt poison damage over time. It's a really neat thing to, like, if people got too far away and you didn't want them to get out of combat, you could just like dot them really fast or keep a distance and dot them up while remaining ranged as a survival hunter. But now we don't have it anymore. It's nowhere to be picked. So instead, we now get Viper's Venom, which is the passive effect, which get applied when we deal regular damage attacks with Raptor Strike and Mongoose Bite. This one's pretty good. We do also have extra bleed damage with kill command if you want to, which is over here. We do also have each damage over time effect on a target increase the critical strike chance they receive by you by 2%. So again, this is working on crits. But you also have reapplying Serpent Sting to a target, also spread it to 2 nearby enemies. So we have a little bit of AoE here. Sikkim, kill shot critical strikes reset the cooldown of kill command. So again, another cooldown reduction, or it actually instant reset, which is pretty good. And then again, you can go down one of these paths here. I've usually found that having coordinated assault is pretty good. It's only a 1 minute cooldown, by the way, if you pick a certain talent down here. That's why it says 1 minute here. It might say 2 minutes for you. But if you pick this talent down here, it says the cooldown of coordinated assault is reduced by 60. That's pretty good. So again, increasing damage of Raptor Strike and Mongoose Bite, picking coordinated assault, reducing the cooldown by 60, which is like half a cooldown, which is super good. And then when you cast coordinated assault, you gain 2 charges of wildfire bomb. That's pretty good. We can also go down this left path over here and choose wildfire bomb cooldown reduced by 2 seconds, and then 4 seconds. And then I would love to have Fury of the Eagle, meaning that I probably pick something over here. Let's go ahead and not pick Bloody Claws. And let's go ahead and pick Fury of the Eagle. And let's go ahead and not pick Kill Shot Critical Strike reset the cooldown of Kill Command, because let's be honest, we have a lot of resets already. And pick Ruthless Marauder, if that's how you say it. Basically, this one makes it so that Fury of the Eagle gains a bonus critical strike against targets that are below 50% health. So typically you want to use this one when the enemy is less than 50% health, and then this one hits even harder, which is an amazing ability, by the way. I played it a lot in Dragonflight. So with this talent setup, you now have something. Actually, notice I changed one thing over here based on last time. Let me just go and remove the old talent trees. So with this setup here, it now looks quite a bit different. You actually don't have Serpent Sting on your bar anymore. So I kind of had to figure out what do I place there instead. So now I put Wildfire Bomb there instead. And just kind of moved up my my cooldowns a little bit. So when you fight something, let's go and get a target dummy. Again, everyone is attacking the same dummy, so it's kind of hard to get one in private. Let's pick this one over here. This one, I guess. So if I'm attacking, I can actually go ahead and do the small combo there that I'm used to. You can kind of notice, actually you kind of notice that I have some things going on here. Tracker Snap, that goes over there. You can kind of notice how Explosive Shot gets reduced over time randomly. I forgot which specifically reduces it, but you can see we constantly get Wildfire Bombs up. Oh, it got reset. I use it. I believe it gets reset randomly by what do you call Wildfire Bomb, and again also by Quick Shot, I think it was called. But basically, roughly every time it has counted down maybe halfway Explosive Shot, then it gets reset. It's not doing it now. Now it did it. So it reset again. But you can kind of notice how things are just... I don't know. It feels incredible to play Survival Hunter now compared to what it is currently inside BFA. Not BFA. Dragonflight. And it got reset. There we go. Another Explosive Shot. Yeah, the rotation just feels so much smoother. And not just that. I have Binding Shot. I have Freezing Trap. I have Explosive Trap. I have Tar Trap. I have Scatter Shot. I have Stun. I have all the different utility that I would have to... Like, I swear, we had maybe almost half of what we have now in Dragonflight. It's crazy to have so much utility on top of all the extra defensives. Like, we have 2 charges of Survival of the Fittest. It's just insane. And Acceleration, like if I use it, like look at how fast it gets reduced. It's so crazy. I don't know, it's just, it feels good to just have it be changed in such a major way as a hunter when you fight. So just to kind of summarize here to let people know what exactly we have gotten as a survival hunter, we have gotten access to many more traps. We now have Binding Shot, we have Freezing Trap, if it actually works, there we go, it is beta. We do also have Tar Trap, we have Explosive Trap, we have Scatter Shot, which I cannot use because it needs a target. We have a Stun, which I cannot use right now because it needs a target. Like you can pick all of those, you don't have to compromise, which basically means that now you have almost twice as much utility to to actually crowd control your enemies so you can do things. So that extra utility, I think it's like two more spells that we've gotten, is so good. Like it's just mind-blowingly good that we have all these things now. On top of that, we still have Roar of Sacrifice, which is reducing crit damage, or actually removing it and passing it on to your pet. This one is super good, especially against mages. We have Acceleration, which now goes off cooldown a lot faster since it's only 10 focus to get it off cooldown. On top of that, we do also have a Feign Death talent. We haven't talked about this one, but we have Survival Tactics, which reduces damage taken by 90% for 3 seconds. This one is super good in PvP because, again, it's a PvP talent. We do also have Camouflage still, which is the same as it was in Dragonflight. We do also have Aspect of the Turtle and Survival of the Fittest, which both, if you pick Pack Leader as a hero talent, is going to heal you by 20% of your health over 4 seconds. And because you have 2 charges of Survival of the Fittest, we now have twice as much survivability. It's basically, you could pick certain talents to make survival of the fittest reduce your damage taken by 40%, but you only have one charge, which means that once you spend it, that's pretty much it. So now it's 30 seconds instead, but you don't have to pick 2 talent points to get to that. But also you have 2 charges, so it's just so much better. Aspect of the Turtle is now 2.5 minute cooldown with these talents that I picked. And again, you don't really feel like you have to compromise that much with all the talents, because a lot of stuff in the old talent tree, you felt like, oh my god, okay, so do I want to survive or do I want to deal damage? Like, you had to compromise over things. Do I want Binding Shot or do I want Scatter Shot? Well, now you can have both. So, like, there's so many changes made to Hunter that, like, I'm definitely going to be maining Hunter going into the War Within, if this is somewhat the final version of Hunter. Because, again, it's still something that's being changed. There are going to be more iterations of it, but if this is how it's going to be, I will definitely pick up my Hunter again. You can see there's so many people playing Hunter now because of the changes. It's going to be purely Hunters at the start of the War Within, and it's going to be so ridiculous. Is that a Hunter too? Yeah, that's another Hunter. I'm pretty sure if we go up here, it's going to be Hunter, Hunter. Well, actually, there's not as many Hunters as I thought. There's another Hunter. Hunter is the most popular class in the game, so of course there's going to be a lot of Hunters, even though there wouldn't have been a rework done. But these are the changes for Survival Hunter. I'm mind blown. Okay, so I definitely think that the changes made to Hunter now is going to just breathe some new life into Hunter, because Hunter has been suffering for so long. It's a fantasy that people can relate to, so a lot of people play Hunter, but it's more for PvE. When it comes to PvP content, it's always about like these quick burst things where you like try and kill people within the first 5 seconds. And if you don't do that and they get to you, then you gotta know like how to play Hunter, otherwise you're gonna die. So like Hunter has a super high skill ceiling in PvP at least. And it's just, you know, either you're super good at Hunter or you're super bad at Hunter, because there's no in between. Like that's just how it is. So with these changes here, what do you think? I think they're just amazing. I can't wait to play Hunter in the War Within, especially Survival Hunter. Like this is my favorite spec in the game. It was only the survivability that I had issues with, which has been fixed now. So what do you think? Do you have any sort of feedback on Survival Hunter? I think it's perfect. I wouldn't see anything change. I'm a little scared that maybe it has become too good. But other than that, I think this is super good. So